All right, so here we have just a couple of silly examples of just sending strings or complex data types. Let's start implementing a couple of RESTful endpoints, right? Typically, the 4 or 5 RESTful endpoints that we would like to be able to do are the basic CRUD operations that we want to do on any data model, right? We would like to be able to create, read, update, and delete, right? The 4 or 5 CRUD operations. But to do that, we're going to need actual data, right? So let's create here an array or list of widgets. So we'll say maybe a list of widgets, and so this might be my widgets, and it'll be new array list of widgets. Okay, excellent. And maybe we can initialize this in a static block and say that where we can declare a couple widgets. Widget 1 equal new widget, and maybe we'll give it a couple of IDs. Widget 1, and create a couple of these. And we can just push these widgets dot add 1. Just add a couple of these. Okay, so we have some widgets here, and then let's implement one of the several CRUD operations that we will need, right? So we'll need create. We'll need create widget. We'll need find all widgets. We'll need find a widget given the ID. We'll need to update a widget, and we'll need to delete a widget. Okay, so let's start off with being able to retrieve all the widgets, right? So let's take a look at that. So we'll say public list widget find all widgets, right? And this one is easy, right? We just return the widgets. Just a list of widgets, right? And that's it, right? So let's restart our server, see what this looks like. Actually, no, we forgot to map this, right? This is not going anywhere. So we need to be able to map this, right, to some URL so that we can invoke it from a remote client. Right? So since we are reading and retrieving data from the server, we're going to use the get mapping. Right? And based on the naming convention that RESTful services suggest, right, we're going to use the noun widget and the plural widgets. Okay, so we're getting widgets, and also we're prepending with API just to be able to distinguish data from static content. Right? So let's restart the server. Okay, let's see if this blows up. Let's refresh. So now we can say API/widgets, and indeed it comes back with an array of all those 3 widgets. Yes, right. The other reader, the other finder method that is very common that we might need is being able to retrieve a single widget. You know, if I give you a primary key of a find widget widget, and I give you the ID, a unique identifier. ID here, and then I would just find the widget. I would say for widget w in widgets. You know, if w.getID is equals the ID that you give me, then we're going to return w. Otherwise, we're just going to return null. All right, something like that. Yes. Okay, and we can expose this following the naming convention from RESTful services. Is that we want to uniquely identify the ID by providing it as the primary key at the end of the URL. So this would be widget ID, right, as a placeholder. We need to be able to parse this placeholder and pass it along to this parameter in the function. And to do that, we use the path variable and then name the placeholder that we want to parse. So we want to parse the value in the widget ID placeholder. Hopefully it'll be an integer. I can parse it as an integer and then pass it to you as an integer. If indeed you pass me something other than an integer here that I can't parse as an integer, I'll get a 500 exception on the server side. Okay. So let's restart the server. So if I provide an ID here and say I want 234, notice that I only get widget 2, right? Or if I provide 345, I get widget 3. Make sense? So those are the two finder methods that we're mostly interested to retrieve this from a client, right? So let's take a look at perhaps implementing some other CRUD operations such as create, delete, and update.